take you back to a time where there was only darkness, and slowly rising from the east, bright, large light was rising, and underneath the glow of the light of the world, heaven and hell were being formed. Creation as we know is starting. And this is all due to the god Ra. Guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a topic I've been thinking about doing for a while, and man, the Egyptian story of beginning is so different depending on each generation and dynasties. But today, I'm going to be talking about the one god who almost everyone agrees on was the origin of everything, Ra. So Ra is an interesting god to start the mythology, as he is the god of sun. So, you know, the big ball of fire that keeps our planet alive, everything along those lines, you know, gives us heat and vitamin C and all that good stuff. That's Ra. He's regarded as the creator of everything. This includes the earth, heavens, and even known as the Egyptian hell, or what is known as their hell. Their heaven was also known as, I'm going to pronounce this terribly, Aurora. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the field of reeds is the simplest way to do that, and that's how I'm going to reference it from now on. Now, this was known as their Egyptian heaven, but if you say you were judged improperly or your heart was weighed in a poor way, you didn't make it to the field of reeds and you'd actually be destroyed. And there's many different variants about this, but everyone has agreed on Apophis was the god of destruction and chaos with it. So there's many stories of the battles and what happens at night between Ra and Apophis, and I'm not going to be going into them here more, but in a later video with more Apophis because that's more about that. But now let's get back to our regular scheduled programming. Now, when you would see Ra in hieroglyphics or any temples, anything along those lines, he's normally depicted as a man with the head of a hawk, or sometimes just as a hawk itself with like the sun disk on it. And this is correlation to him being the sun god, you know, the god of the sun. All the kings and pharaohs, I believe by the second dynasty, maybe third, I'm not 100% quote me on that, were said to be the children of Ra to stand in before as they were worthy people to rule over Egypt, to coincide with the fact that Ra was known as king of the gods. He was known as the god for almost everything and for the longest time. And what I mean, Ra has been around for a long time. I mean, yeah, there's a few different origin stories, but most of them say that Ra came first. I know people have said, well, what about like Neith and Atum and all that? I'm just like, no, I'm not going there right now. I'm focusing on what is the most common. Ra has been depicted in a lot of different ways and with a lot of different gods and merged powers with them. Ra has been merged, and here's just a short list, with the gods Khepri, Horus, Amun, and Atum. And this would also be depending on how Ra was being associated with. When he was linked with Horus, and sometimes it was just with the sun in the sky, because Horus is a sky god. You can see another video about that, you know. So it kind of goes hand in hand. That makes sense. And then when you're discussing like creation, everything, he's teamed with Atum. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, this also continues with nature of existence, and that would be Amun-Ra, which is very common. I spoke about that again with my Amun video. And Ra Khepri was the tale about how Khepri would push Ra across the sky before the original Horus story of the boat and the war with Apophis, how Ra would defend the boat at night against Apophis. Ra was split into 5 different sections depending on the context on what Ra was doing differently, as Ra was split into 5 different sections in his lifetime. So you're looking at Ra in the heavens, on the earth, in the netherworld, and as the creator, also the king and the father of the kings. So how this would work, Ra was known as Ra in the heavens as he would transport the souls into the field of reeds, or to be judged by Osiris at the time. And so imagine he's rising from the east. Everybody who has died that day, or saying last week, there's no real depiction of timelines, but basically he'd collect a bunch of souls as he'd go across the sky, and then he'd hit the evening time. It was believed that he would bring all these souls to Osiris, and when he would do that, that's where he was known as Ra in the heavens. When he was Ra on the earth, this would be known as when he was on earth, creating all the rules and laws and guiding the kings and pharaohs of the time for proper way of people in Egypt to live. When he was in the netherworld, this is kind of more where he would represent the souls that were not judged fondly, and would be also part of the battle with Apophis for control, and the king and the father. But he's basically the king of everything. But when you start to really discuss Ra and like dig into it deeper, you have to consider how he pretty much did everything. He gave life to the world. He would help escort souls to heaven or to Apophis. There's so many different stories about him and variants, and when you kind of break it all down, he was kind of the jack of all trades. Kind of makes sense. He was the father god of everything, but he was really there for everything until God's eventually, like his children had children. When, his 4 kids had kids, and that's when they started developing more into other roles where Ra could focus more on just a few things. And that's where it progresses. If you would break it down in like simpler terms, he worked like a 90-hour work week, and I and many people struggle to get through 40 hours. Ranting aside about how much I hate working 40 hours a week, I want to thank everybody who watches my videos, and if you have a suggestion of an Egyptian god I haven't covered yet, leave it in the comments below. Now, would you kindly hit that subscribe button and that like button? I really appreciate it if you could do that, guys. It helps me grow the channel, and I just want to thank everybody who came out and watched the video so far. And on that note, I'll see you next time.